Welcome to my behavior discussions. These are informal discussions based on all of the work that I've done over the last 20 years as a behaviorist. Big warning at the beginning, if your dog is having behavioral issues that you feel are putting the dog, somebody else, or you at risk, then you need to find a behaviorist to come in and work with you. This is not meant to replace that. This is just general behavior discussions based on my experience. So it hopefully will be helpful, and then you won't get to the point where you need to call in a behaviorist. All right, today we're talking about puppy biting, probably the biggest issue I hear about when it comes to puppies. Potty training comes close to it, but really people just kind of do potty training as a course of, in course of having a puppy. And then suddenly their puppy starts biting and they start to get a little worried. So this particular podcast is only for puppies. If your puppy is over 5 or 6 months old, biting could be something else. But I have never run into a puppy that was truly aggressive. I have run into puppies that have resource guarded, but that's kind of a different thing. But to just be truly aggressive, that's never happened, at least for me. And I've trained over 5,000 dogs. I did have a lot of clients, or I should say potential clients, call and say, you need to come in and you need to assess my puppy because I think I'm going to have to put him down. I think he's aggressive. And I would say, well, come on in for puppy training class. And I can tell you there, because in my mind, I'm thinking the puppy's not aggressive. And they would say, no, you need to come out. So I'd pay $500 and I'd go out and I'd interact with the puppy for about 10 minutes. And I'd say, your puppy's just a normal puppy, not aggressive at all. And then we do the rest of the time in training and with me talking to the people about, behavior and how to deal with a new puppy. And I say potential clients because very seldom did people like that become my clients. They wanted to believe, I think, in that the dogs were aggressive. I don't know. But so anyway, I still have never met a truly aggressive puppy beyond 6 months old. So let's see. So puppies, by their very nature, are bitey. Some breeds are bitier than others, and individuals in those breeds can be more bitey than others. So if you have, like, our French Bulldog was never very bitey, but my Jack Russell Terrier, that took a lot because she just wanted to bite everything. Of course, Malinois are super bitey. Heelers, a lot of the herding dogs are very bitey. A lot of the working dogs are bitey. Labs, Goldens, they tend to be bitey, although not as bad as something like a Terrier or a Malinois. So if you want the bitiest dog, you get a Malinois. They call them Malingators. Maligators? So, all right. Puppies bite very hard, and they have super sharp teeth. You'll often hear people say, oh, well, puppies biting are like babies putting everything in their mouth. But it's not like that at all. Infants, very young toddlers, do put everything in their mouth. But number one, they have no teeth. And number two, they're basically looking for things to suckle. And that's not what that's not what the puppies are doing. Real puppy biting is more intense as they get older. And then, of course, they've got those little sharp puppy teeth. And the reason it gets worse is because biting is their play. Chasing and biting is puppies' natural play. Remember, in most mammals, all that I can think of, play prepares the animal for adulthood. And what do adult canines do? They chase, they kill, and they tear apart animals. So using those sharp little teeth as play is just very natural. And where you would expect a baby as they go into toddlerhood not to put things in their mouths, that's when it starts getting more intense for the puppies. And I think that's why people often think that their dog is aggressive, because they had this cute little puppy who didn't really bite. And then suddenly the puppy's becoming a little bit bigger and older. And in their minds, they're thinking, my puppy shouldn't be biting anymore because it's not it's not a real baby. And I'm sure that's an unconscious thought. That's not a conscious thought. And then they start to think, well, maybe the puppy is aggressive. But it is not. Let's see. And then people start to become worried, and then they make decisions based on their worry and their fear. And no matter what the situation, when we make decisions based on worry and fear, we usually make the wrong decision. And that's what I see in a lot of people, is the decisions they make will start making the biting worse. And then they're convinced that there's something wrong with the puppy because they think they're doing what's right to stop the biting, but they're not. They're encouraging the biting. So let's see real quick. All right. So some of the things that people do to inadvertently increase biting in puppies. The first one is to yelp. And that information is out a lot. And one of the things that I noticed over time is that people who would come to me for a specific issue, I would ask them, well, what have you been doing? And then I started noticing what worked and what didn't. And I saw a lot of people with puppies who bit hard and had issues with biting, who said, well, they heard, or somebody told them, or even another trainer told them, if they yelped, the puppy would stop biting. And I'd say, well, how long has your puppy been biting? And they'd say, oh, for the last month and a half. And how long have you been yelping? And they would say, oh, for over a month. And I'd be like, well, how's that working for you? And I saw that time. I wasn't really that snarky. I saw that time and time again. And what yelping does, it increases the excitement in the puppy. You know how puppies love squeakies, or all dogs love, those squeakies? I call the squeaky the death scream. I think the reason why dogs like squeakies is because it mimics the sound of an animal dying, and that is very satisfying to them, because that's what they do to survive, is make other animals die in the wild. Not that our dogs live in the wild, but they still have these traits from how canines evolved. And so when you do that yelp, you're increasing excitement because, this puppy has this evolutionary reaction to it. And you're not doing anything to teach the puppy not to bite. Yelping is not a bad thing to puppies. And so I'm sure there are some people who've used it and it worked, but I have not yet met a single person who yelped to get their puppy to stop biting, and it actually worked. So let's not yelp. It doesn't teach the puppy anything, and it excites the puppy. And, excited puppies love to use their mouths. The next thing is to push the puppy away. Okay, so puppy starts to bite, and they're like, no, get off, back. And then the puppy just jumps in for more, because this pushing is part of the way a dog plays. It's an invitation to play. Watch puppies, watch dogs, especially, put a few dogs out in the backyard and let them run. And if one's standing there looking at something, another will come up, and they'll either, push their paws or push them with their butts or their shoulder or something. And then the game is on, and they start to chase each other. So we don't want to push the puppy away. Creates excitement again, and excited puppies use their mouths. And it's an invitation to play. And how do puppies play? They play by biting, because remember, they're preparing for adulthood, and adulthood of hunting and tearing apart meat. And our hands are nice pieces of meat here. So let's see. You don't want to shove your hand down the puppy's throat. I don't know if it works or not. I just know there are better ways. And who wants a relationship where your dog is worried you're going to shove your hand down the dog's throat? So the concept is kind of a sound one. Not really, because I think the concept is pain. But this leaning forward, we'll get into that. And that's kind of what you do if you shove your hand down the dog's throat. Is a thing. It's a concept. But we don't want to kind of make the puppy feel like they're strangling, or they're in some type of pain. And that includes things like squeezing their muzzle shut and, people sometimes take the bottom muzzle and squeeze it. So none of that is teaching them not to bite. It's teaching them that there may be consequences they don't like from you, but these are natural behaviors for puppies. If every time you went up to hug somebody as a child, they shoved their fist down your throat, you would kind of go like, this world doesn't make sense to me. And so puppies are just doing their natural thing. And so we don't want to confuse them, and we don't want to kind of build that wall up between you and your puppy. So let's see. So pain, it's confusing. They're just doing something natural. So let's not confuse. Let's not build walls up. Let's manage this behavior and start to teach our puppy how to interact properly with humans. So we've invited this animal into our home. They don't know the rules of human living. And so we tend to say, they're a bad puppy, they pottied, they tore something up, they bit, they're biting our hands, but they're not really being bad puppies. Marie Sendek wrote a book called, what was the name of the book? Some Swell Dog? It's a weird little book because Marie Sendek was a weird author, but I love his stuff. And in it, he says something like, a normal puppy does everything wrong. And that's kind of true, because it's wrong for in our homes and it's wrong with people, but in their minds, they don't know it's wrong. So it's our job as human beings who've invited this animal into our home to teach them how to behave properly. So the first thing we're going to do is to manage the situation. And I do that by having puppies on leash almost all the time they're out with me. The leash gives you a whole lot of control. If your dog starts to run off, you can just step on it, pick it up, and call them back happily. If they get under something, you don't have to reach under and have them start to nip and bite your hand. You can just say, come on, and walk them out. If they start to jump on you, again, you can just kind of hold the leash out so that they don't jump. There are just lots of things you can do for management with the leash. And play is super important, because play gets them all excited. And that's when they're going to start doing these things that we don't want, like biting. So if you have the leash on your dog, let's say you're sitting on the couch or the floor and you're playing with your dog, or you're petting your dog. Doesn't even have to be play. Petting is very stimulating. So if you start to pet your dog, they may get excited and start to get mouthy. You just, instead of trying to push them away or pick them up, or they're still like trying to chew on you and they're wiggly and squiggly, you just take that leash by their collar and you just hold them away until they're calm. Then when they're calm, you just let them go, invite them over to you to play again. So anytime they start to get crazy and wild, it's just out to the side. We're going to calm down a minute, and then we can start playing again. So it's kind of like a timeout, but not really, because you're still there, and it's so that they can then play. It's a positive thing. A timeout is like, you've been bad. You're going to be in this crate because you were bad. This is like, you're a little overexcited. Just gone. Oh, good boy. Now you're not. Let's play a little bit. And so they start to learn where that threshold is for excitement. And that also gives you an opportunity to deal with them without getting bitten some more. So that's something that I think is super important for puppies when you're playing, is to have that leash on them so you have control over them without getting into this kind of power struggle. So the other thing is management. You want to make sure you have a lot of toys, especially soft toys for puppies. Now, dogs are social animals, and their games are mostly social, except I have a Frenchie who likes to play with the ball by himself. I mean, I've seen other dogs do it, but he'll like literally dribble it. He'll like start to hit it, and he'll start going up, and he'll dribble it, and then he'll throw it up in the air, and then he'll do like soccer. He's so funny, but generally, and he doesn't want any help. Although I shouldn't say that. He'll come over every once in a while and drop it because he knows fetch. So he may decide in the middle of his own game, he'll play fetch with us. And so dogs are social animals, and they want to play with you just like they would be playing with puppies. And that play is important. So we want to keep it social. And if we just give a dog a toy, a puppy a toy, they're not going to be interested in it. And I hear it all the time. So he was biting me, so I figure he wanted to chew, so I gave him a toy, and he didn't want to chew on the toy, he just wanted to chew on me. So, there's an issue there. No, he wanted to play. He didn't want to chew on you. He wanted to play. His play happens to be biting and mouthing. So we don't just want to give the dog toys hoping that that'll take care of it. It definitely has to be interactive. So we're not just going to give a dog a toy. Once we get that calm behavior and call the dog back, that's a good time to grab your soft toy. It can be a little rope. It can be a little stuffy, whatever, something soft and nice. And I'm going to suggest for this type of behavior, not using a ball. You want something long so you can have one end, they can have the other end. All right. And then you can start doing a little bit of tug. You can start working on drop it and leave it. Drop it and take it. You can start working on fetch. I always start fetch with puppies with small little long things. It's tug, 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 drop it. And then I just drop it down in front of me and I say, get it. And then as soon as I pick it up, it's tug, tug, tug. And then as we go along, I can throw the thing further and further. And then that translates well to dogs and balls and dumbbells and things like that. So I like long things, ropes or long stuffies, and then or little tuggies, and then you can start an interactive game. So sometimes puppies do get a little rambunctious. Sometimes they do get a little overwhelmed. I think my Frenchie wants to be in these videos because he hardly ever barks, and he's barked in every video that I have done. So I don't know what that's about. I'll have to think about that when I get off and then work on it for next time. All right. So when your dog does get overzealous in their playing, and they do actually grab onto you, you don't want to pull away. That creates a prey drive response, and they want to chase you. It also doesn't teach them not to. It encourages them to do it. So when your puppy goes to bite you, and I don't shove my hand down their throat, I just freeze and I say, and I lean in. And that lean in is important. The just one time, down low, and then I wait for them to back away. And I just look at them, and then when they back away, it's like, good dog. Now we can play again. So if they actually get you or your clothes or whatever, it's moving in, and it's that eye contact, and it's an a low and you wait for them to back away from you. If they're backing away from you, there's no prey drive response. And that's the type of body language that dogs will use with each other. If you have multiple dogs, watch it. Your dog may have something, and the other dog will walk over to get it, and the dog who wants it, and the dog who has it, will lean in and look at the other dog, and then the other dog will be okay and walk away. Now, this leaning in, this is an important concept. I use it a lot, this moving forward, because dogs do respond to body language. And one time we had an 11-month-old lab that one of my trainers was handling. And it was the first day the lab was there. And like I said, it was 11 months old, so it's out of this puppy biting window. But it had been playing in daycare, and it was having so much fun. My trainer took the dog out for the first potty break, and we would literally take dogs one at a time on leash to go potty, and so that we could reinforce potty behavior. And she stepped out the door, and the dog started to just throw this little fit. And she just waited calmly until the dog stopped. And then she reached down, and then they kind of both fell to the ground, and the dog let go. So had she pulled away, it would have been a tear. As it turned out, it was just small little puncture, not small. I mean, she had to go to the hospital. It was puncture marks. And needless to say, that dog did not do well. And as I talked to the owner after it came back, there were a lot of issues, a lot of ways that she was reinforcing not just biting, but incredibly aggressive behavior. She was very afraid of the dog, but didn't say that when she dropped him off. And he was actually doing day training. So, yeah, that did not end happily. However, there were no stitches needed or anything because my trainer was used to leaning in when a dog bit. But even if you just have a sharp toothed little puppy, if you pull away, that's where you're going to get the scrapes and the tears. So we don't want to pull away. We always want to lean in. If your puppy keeps coming towards your hands but doesn't get them, I like to bring my hands in. Same thing, lean forward, and then I wait for the puppy to back away. When the puppy backs away, I back up, I relax, and then we play again. Puppy starts to go towards the hand, and I just wait for the puppy to back away. And so that teaches the puppy that the game is over. This is mine. So if you ever see a dog resource guarding, where do they have their things? They have their things right here. That's how I can tell a resource guarding dog. They've got it right here, and they're actually not playing with it. They're just looking around, making sure nobody's going to steal it from them. So this is mine. Back away. And now it's over, and we can play. So let's talk about playing. Playing is so important for puppies, and playing with you is super important. And remember, their play is almost all mouth-based. So when we play, we have to teach proper rules. Play isn't a free-for-all. You don't go to a baseball game and people start throwing baseballs at each other and tackling each other, because that's not the rule of the game. So as human beings, we set the rules for the game. We used to have a most untrainable dog contest at the facility. So I had a very popular blog in the local paper. And once a year, I'd say 100 words or less. Tell me why your dog is the most untrainable dog in Houston. Then we picked the top 5, and they would all come to the facility. And I had a vet tech, a groomer, and a couple of trainers. And we would all decide who was the most untrainable dog. And they would get free one-on-one training. The other 4 would get in-class training. And this was a huge Weimaraner. And it was this woman, a young woman who seemed to be kind of afraid of the dog, which I find a lot in dogs that are kind of out of control. But anyway, we started training, and it was just very simple stuff like the name game and sit. But she was very stressed and frustrated. And I said, so let's go ahead. Let's take a break a second. And what game does your dog like to play? And she said, oh, he loves to play fetch. I said, okay, let me get a ball. So I give her the ball, and she lifts it up, and this huge Weimaraner jumps on her, almost knocking her over. And as she's falling back, she throws it. And the dog grabs the ball, runs around the room, comes back, almost knocks her over again. She struggles to get the ball away. Finally, drop it. Finally, she gets the ball from the dog. The dog didn't give it to her. And she lifts it up again, and the dog jumps on her. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on here. What are you doing? And she said, we're playing. I said, this is how you play? And she said, yeah. So, I mean, dogs, they play for fun, right? And this is fun for him. And I said, no, it's not fun for anybody. So we stopped right there, and I taught her how to play fetch with rules. And anyway, I always thought that was interesting. And then I started noticing in other people that they were thinking, it wasn't as extreme, that they were thinking games play was just a free-for-all, but no, they are games, and they have rules. So like the rule of fetch. So what are the rules of fetch? I have the thing, I throw it, you get it, you bring it back to me, you give it to me. Those are the rules of fetch. The rules of tug are, I have it, you take it when I tell you to, we tug, you let it go when I tell you to, and you don't keep going up the tug and bite my hand. So you have to decide what the rules are for your games, and then you have to teach the rules to your dog, and your dog's going to be much happier, and you're going to be much happier. So the main the main game I like to play with puppies that are biting, of course, is tug. And so I kind of like play with the toy. Puppy grabs the toy because really this is what the dog's doing when they're biting your hands. But now we've got a toy and we tug, tug, tug. If the dog comes up, I just kind of hold the tug closer and I'm like, and the dog has to back off because otherwise the dog's going to go up and it's going to get my hands. Okay. I teach it drop it. I teach it take it. And I teach them not to go up until they bite my hands, which they want to do. If you've ever seen a dog grab something, they kind of like grab and go up. So that's one game. And then, like I said before, that turns into fetch. Tug, 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 drop it. I drop it down. I say, get it. And as soon as I get it, I grab it again and drop it. Or sometimes I play tug. I don't know. I just have fun with it because games, even with rules, actually, because of rules, are a lot more fun. Free-for-alls are not fun for anybody. So that is basically it. You want to be able to control the dog with a leash. You want to make sure that you are playing with the dog, and because that's what the dog is wanting. And you want to make sure that when they start to bite you, you're going to lean into them. You're either going to come in with your hands and lean forward if they haven't bitten you yet, or you're going to, if they've got you, you're going to lean forward and you're going to say, and wait for them to back away. So, and this works for other things too, like going after your feet. People tend to go like, no, 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 no. They start biting their feet and they start going up and down. So there's the yelp, no, no. And then there's the movement and then they start backing up. So there's all this and start maybe pushing the dog. So there's all this excitement, and it's excitement because they're doing play behaviors. All those are play behaviors and increasing the excitement. So what are we going to do? We're going to lean into we're going to take the leash, because it's really hard to bring your feet into your chest. You're going to take the leash. You're going to be like, You're going to wait till the dog's calm, drop the leash, and then you're going to continue. If the dog gets crazy again, you step on the leash so that you can grab it. And then you're going to do the same thing over again until they realize that biting isn't going to get them anywhere. So let me make sure. Let me check my notes. I think we did everything. And that's about it. If you have any questions, put them down below. Let me know what you think. If you disagree with me, I'm always willing to listen to what other people have done. I know my way is not the only way, and I'm more than willing to explain the reasons why I do the things that I do. I think that's very important in the learning process. So let me know down below what you think, what you've done, what issues you're having. And then, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you'll get notices when we do this next week. And I'm trying to think. I need to write down what I'm doing the next week so that I can say it at the end of this one. But we're doing something fun, I'm sure. And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.